All right, hello everyone. My name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I call myself the Adrenal Fatigue Recovery Ninja, and today we are doing a Facebook Live. Typically, we call these sessions the Your Adrenal Fix. We have a little play on the word fix, but we are trying to give you a consistent adrenal fix. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to go to Tuesday nights, because Thursday nights are later in the week, and I think people aren't necessarily available for those times. And so I am doing this one right now, and it was penciled into my schedule, and I looked at it and it said Facebook Q&A, and I don't know why it was put in there as Facebook Q&A. It should have been Facebook Live, and then I looked Q&A. That's probably a good idea. So we're doing Q&A tonight, and that basically gives you the opportunity to ask me any questions you have in regards to adrenal fatigue, being tired, not dealing with stress the same way, having racing thoughts, racing mind, heart palpitations, not being able to shut things off, not being able to go into parasympathetic slowdown. And think about that. Like, if your adrenals are exhausted and tired, and you are under stress to the point where now your body's not able to maintain optimal homeostasis, because that's what the body does. It's a natural healing machine, and if it can't maintain that internal environment or make all those little checks and balances equal out, where you have this whole orchestra of little workers, like little, you know, what was it, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, with the Oompa Loompas behind the scene, orchestrating your heart rate and your blood pressure and your digestive function, all those things. So ultimately, when you don't do a good job of balancing all those things, what happens is when you have a stressor, you don't handle those stressors very well. And what happens when we handle a stressor? Our heart rate goes up, it has to come back down. It has to come down quick. We get sort of blood flow away from the stomach. We get adrenaline surges. We shut down things. We open things. We balance things. And if we don't do those things properly, fatigue, lightheaded, can't go to the beach, it's too hot, heart racing, palpitations, can't fall asleep, can't stop thinking about something, get anxious when something is not controlled or expected. And we did just finished doing a Dutch test right now, where we look at 4 different points of your cortisol and look at metabolized, what has been used up, look at free, get an idea of the relationship between the metabolized, what you've used up, and the free, and you can make some really good inferences. Then you start to look at, hey, how's your estrogen levels doing? How's progesterone levels doing? Are we robbing from Peter to pay Paul? There's 8 different estrogens, and so if you're only doing blood work or saliva, you're not looking at those 8 different estrogens. We have to break those estrogen down in 2 ways. Phase 1, liver detox, phase 2. And the Dutch test will tell you about that. It's pretty cool. Uh-oh, something's sleeping. I just bought this handheld thing, and it's holding my phone, so no more falling here and there. So anyways, when your estrogen is being broken down, it gets pretty much broken down in 2, sometimes 3 phases. People look at 3 phases of detox. The first phase is that fat soluble becoming water soluble. That second phase is the water soluble getting eliminated from the body. And that third phase is sort of the whole processing of that with the gallbladder and so forth. And so I look at it as phase 1. My analogy is you taking the garbage out to the curb. Phase 2 is the garbage man taking the garbage away from the curb. Phase 3 is the processing plant at the factory site. So that's my analogies, and we can look at how those are working and if they're working well, and how's that contributing to your ability to detox, and what's the genetic component related to that, and potentially how is your diet helping with this. It's really connecting the dots is really what needs to be done. And so in this particular instance, we found that DHEA levels were actually low. And what's cool about this test is it looked like her total DHEA was normal. But when we looked at those breakdown products, we actually saw that her DHEA was low. So we can tell a lot of different things from that particular test. It's an awesome test. But then I also want to look at blood work so that I can look at pituitary hormones. Then I'm going to see if the pituitary is actually slow. And if I can get some free markers in the blood then I could really be getting some awesome information. Then lastly, I like to look at the saliva, because then we can look at that cortisol rhythm. Although the Dutch test tells us a little bit about that, it doesn't tell us the same way. And we can get some really good inferences from those cortisol rhythms the way they are. If it's a hypoglycemic problem, it's a circadian rhythm problem, it's a feedback problem, we can kind of tell based on all of the values together and put together a program. So anyways, I'm talking during your Q&A. So Bonnie, you are here, and will taking bioidentical hormones help adrenal fatigue? It's a really great question, Bonnie. It's so many answers, and what I would say is that maybe yes, maybe no. And what I mean by that is, bioidentical hormones are obviously better than synthetic hormones, so our body recognizes it a little bit better. But when we take hormones, feedback loops don't get signaled the way we would think they would, and so it doesn't really impact them the way we would think. And when that happens, it's not fixing the true problem of why would you need the bioidentical hormones in the first place? And I always ask that. Yeah, well, I had a hysterectomy, or I've just in menopause, or all of the above, some of the above, none of the above. There's a lot of estrogen disruptors in the environment, plasticizers and chemicals, and these can really impact the hormones too. And if your liver's not doing a good job, and if your gut's not doing a good job, and you have a lot of inflammation, and there's a genetic component where potentially you're not breaking down these estrogens as well, and then there's gut infections, and that's stealing away some of your raw materials, and our neurotransmitters are off, and we're anxious and depressed, and then our bioidentical hormones going to fix all that? That's the better question I would ask. And I'm not saying it was a bad question. That's the way I would answer your question, in terms of there's a lot more going on. And it could be good in terms of maybe you're getting some good triaging, which we need. You go to the hospital, knock on wood, you break an arm, it's a compound fracture, it's sticking through the skin, they need to do surgery on it. You need some painkillers. You need some, stitches. You need to control the bleeding. You need to make sure you don't make it a sort of an emergency situation. Once the vitals are done and you've handled all that, now you got to go deep into surgery. And same way with the body. If you're suffering, if you're tired and exhausted, and you have brain fog, and you can't focus, and you have musculoskeletal pains, and your hormones aren't there, and your libido is down, and your relationships are suffering, and you don't have energy to go out, and you're exhausted, and you just can't deal with stress, that's what's going on. And if there's anyone that's watching this, hopefully, can you give me a couple of thumbs up and a couple of likes? I'm almost like spoiled now. I know there's a delay now, so when they're not coming right away, then I know it's because people aren't doing it. But anyways, hey April, hopefully that answered your question, Bonnie. There's a lot more to it. April, hope you're doing well. And if there's other questions on here, we got a video coming, and I think we saw the assessments of the of those 61 point stuff. So anyways, what I was going to say is that you have to try to figure out, because the traditional model is going to do exactly what Bonnie said, in terms of let's just give you some bioidentical hormones and control the bleeding and deal with the vitals, but then it's like, okay, we never did surgery. There was a broken arm over here, and we never did anything to fix it. We just, stitched it up and gave you some painkillers and forgot there was a compound fracture. That's kind of what happens. Hello to Delaware too. Hope you're doing well. I have to scroll down to see what your name was. I'm Heather. Hey Heather, hope you're doing well. Billy Rich, what adrenal fatigue and with adrenal fatigue and mercury poisoning, is sleeping through the night possible, or is waking multiple times the norm? Okay, so there's lots of good question. There's a lot of intricate levels involved with that question that I think of right away. Like I think, okay, mercury poisoning is, to me, I mean, mercury toxicity. Was it the poisoning in your blood? Was it an acute exposure? Was it done over time? Do you really mean to say that you have toxic levels of mercury in your bloodstream that has been accumulated, that was tested from hair and urine, and maybe you did a challenge test, or you did all three? They call that a tri-test. And you found out there was excessive levels of mercury and it's been there for a long time. As opposed to, I think when someone says poisoning, like you just got exposed to it not too long ago and you're dealing with the aftermath and you're in an acute sort of situation. But either way, the point is that will it impact your sleep? And it will. I mean, it's going to mess up your circadian rhythms. The longer it goes on, the more toxic it is to the brain, the more chemicals you get, in the brain. We call, pardon me, those are inflammation microglial cells in the brain that are signalers, and they signal an immune response, and that can trigger your immune system to get out of control and start to create autoimmunities and neurological conditions, and then that can junk up a lot of things like, pardon me, like removing these toxins, like having the chimney stacks be opened and being able to not only get out of the cell, but get out of the brain and get out of the body and get out of the liver and get out of the tissues. And so it's ubiquitous in the body, meaning it's in the, if you've had it outgassing from mercury in the teeth, from whether it's that early dental amalgams, early exposures to vaccinations, early exposures to foods, more recent exposures to foods, and they're in all different tissues of the body, mostly fat tissue and very metabolic tissue. So bones, metabolic tissue, fats, metabolic tissue, brains, mostly fat. So if you have those things going on, and then you have some methylation issues, you have an MTHFR, you have potentially some other family predispositions, there's other things, you have mold exposures, you have stressful relationships, you have all those other things that contribute. You get really bad nutrients. You're not getting just good old-fashioned good food that has minerals and good quality vitamins and all that stuff. Then can it impact your sleep? So let me see, I'm getting on a tangent. With adrenal fatigue and mercury poisoning, is sleeping through the night possible? It's absolutely 100% possible. I mean, it's like saying if I stop smoking and I have lungs that are black and gnarly looking, if I stop smoking, will they ever be normal again? And what's the answer to that question? Depends how long. Are you going to stop smoking for good? Are you going to get good quality air? Are you, going to get healthy nutrients? Are you going to talk about yesterday? Are we talking about tomorrow? Are we talking realistically like 5 years? Would they be different? I know they may not be new, but they may be different. Of course, they're going to be different. 10 years, 15 years, they're going to be even more different. And then eventually you have this whole new set of lungs. So your body is very, very forgiving. And it's very, that's the great thing about it. You have to hold that energy. A lot of people don't hold that energy. A lot of people never remember what it was to feel great, and they don't focus on that. And their frequency is off. Their cells aren't resonating well. Their tissues are tired and fatigued and inflamed and oxidized and being attacked by their immune system. And that vibration and frequency is off, and then they forget, oh, is that really possible? It is possible. Why is it not possible? Why are you not in charge of it, making it possible? Yeah, because it's been tough, and I haven't felt good for so long, and I've spent so much money, and no one understands, and the doctors make fun of me and ridicule me, and my family thinks I'm making it up. Do any of you resonate with that? Does any of that make sense to you? Because I know it does. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I felt. That's what, that's what's happening. If there's a thumbs up to that, give me a thumbs up to that. Like, yes, that's exactly how I'm feeling. And I got to remember that it is possible. So then you got to ask yourself, Billy, are you doing the right steps? Like, what have you done? Have you done basic blood work? Have you noticed, is there any basic anemias? Are there oxygen issues? Are there glucose issues? How are your nutrients? How are you eating? Like, take inventory, and maybe you're doing a great job. Maybe you're not. Maybe you could be doing a better job. How's your mindset? Are you Are you like, you know, wallowing in the mire? Not to be disrespectful, like we're allowed to. I had an awful day yesterday, awful day. Just my son's 15 years old now, and he was really, really disrespectful on Sunday, and to the point where it was almost over the line, where it was really hurtful. And you know, it was a whole day of me concentrating on that energy, and it was really interesting because I had the conversation with my father, who I was never close with, and it's the only time in our life where we're having like a really nice personal relationship. And I had a lot of anger in my life towards that and him and things that happened. And anyways, we've made up and we're at peace, which is nice because we can kind of talk. And I asked him, you know, I'm going to ask him. And so, hey, was I ever like, did I ever do something super, super disrespectful to you? And he said, I would have to look and think, and maybe there has, but it's insignificant. Because now we have the time to, you know, and I agreed right from the very beginning he said that, but it made me feel better because I know, geez, I hope I was never that rude or that disrespectful. And if I was, geez, I know how impactful it is now. But he hadn't thought about it, and that was energy he had released. But it took a long time of energy to get explained and released, whereas right now, I spent a whole day, you know, being, you know, upset by it. And at the end of the day, it's going to be insignificant because it's my son and we're always going to have a great relationship. So the quicker you can get your alignment out of the bad energy and into the good energy, that's the quicker you're going to realize that I'm actually going to get closer to where I want to go to. And I'm not going to, you know, waste time and energy that is ultimately going to bring me down physically, metaphorically. It's going to wear me down, but it's going to impact you. And there's that mind-body connection too. And I'm not saying everything's mind-body. Definitely, you have to look at methylation. I'm going to be the one that talks about genetic stuff. I'm the genetic nerd. I need to give you that information. If again, so many people that I talk to, and I ask them, tell me about the genetic component, and they're like, well, no one's ever. What do you mean? Oh yeah, I have MTHFR. And I'm like, okay, so what did you do about that? Well, you know, methylfolate. And a lot of you guys know that stuff, but where I find that it's not connecting is when it comes down to connecting the dots of the genetic with the environment. So the candida growth and the infections and the, you know, bioidentical hormones and the synthetics and the estrogen disruptors and all that stuff. If you don't look to see where that's going on in your body and where it's expressing with the genetics, you can't detail an individualized, customized plan. And so I see that being missed a lot. So anyways, I was rambling on there. I hope that answered some of your question there, Billy. The other day, Heather, the other day you talked about the quality of the food we eat. Now that it is getting colder and local gardens are almost done. Suggestions to help with the food quality now. So great question. You know, I think a really great question. So nothing beats local, farmed, you know, just definitely healthy, good soils, hopefully pesticide free, and just really, really good quality nutrients. You know, I guess the next alternative would be to freeze some of those really good quality stuff so that you have them in surplus. The other one would be do the best you can. You know, don't sweat the small stuff. Do the best you can. I like certain quality nutrients. Like my motto is to have a good quality meal once a day at least, and then potentially a good quality shake with good quality nutrients, which are living source nutrients. And nutrients that aren't necessarily like take this for that and that for this. You know, get a good quality phosphatidylcholine, which would be, you know, helpful for the cell membrane. So I like something called lecithin. Actually, I use Premier Research Labs stuff for this. And so it's not here. So it's basically it's called lecithin shakes, and I can give you a link for that. I also like these tocotrienols ultra. Basically, this is a rice brand stabilized, but with all the essential B's and vitamin E, which is the living source. So it was what was sourced in the land. What's great about this is, well, I have a rice sensitivity. What about if it gives me an insulin spike and my sugar and this, that, and the other? This is the sort of the purified form where it was in a living source, high quality, non-pesticide, you know, measuring the actual photon spectrometry, like getting super weird and finding out that it is a high resonant thing. So I like that. Premier Greens I really, really like. It's awesome. A lot of people have problem with Premier Greens. They have, and you can tell everyone, Heather, we didn't script this. Like, I didn't have you like set you up in the crowd and say, hey, make sure you ask about the nutrients and supplements so that I can tell everyone we don't know each other. Anyways, the Premier, I just happen to have it at the end of my table. It's a weird coincidence. It is grasses, so features organic grasses, low temperature, air dried. So anything that's heat treated at high temperatures, that have tag-alongs or pass-throughs that help it filter through the scene or through the machine, like talcs, stearic acids. Some can really impactful, but they're not resonating. They don't have a good energy to them, and that's what I like in terms of getting that in your foods. These are supposed to be stopgaps, meaning we're only supposed to use these supplements to help with our life and getting good nutrients. But nowadays, good nutrients are hard to find. It's now like good nutrients are our stopgap, and these supplements are our life. It's almost turned into that. But these are super good. This will get you in an alkaline state. Organic barley grass, organic oat grass, organic kale, organic chlorella from whole broken cell wall, organic alfalfa, organic cilantro, organic spinach, and so I had someone today who said they couldn't do the spinach, and probably you can't. But this is different quality, and potentially, you know, I understand, okay, the investment to see, oh, it doesn't work. I can understand that. I mean, it's $35 for this, and this has 108 servings and 1 teaspoon. So I would probably want this to last maybe a month or so, or maybe a little longer if you want it to. So 1 teaspoon, if I want it to last a month. There's 108, maybe 33. So I would do like 3, or I would do, you know, 3 scoops a day, or you know, or not even a day. 3 scoops in 1 serving. So you don't have to do it, and it's teaspoons, just little teaspoons. But that person said that the spinach wouldn't work for them. It's like, okay, maybe it wouldn't, and then something else wouldn't work for them. And, you know, be open to the idea that you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and not get the good nutrients. And I don't mean that to any disrespect to the person who we had this conversation with, because when you know something's bad, it's bad. It doesn't work for you. But there's the concept in terms of whole food-based nutrition that has the cellular resonance and frequency that gives you good super nutritional components to it that can be really beneficial that you can't get in a pill. So that's, you know, make sure you don't make that same problem where you throw the concept out as well, and because the supplement didn't work. I see that happen a lot. These tocotriens, they're pretty cool too. And then I have this last one here. It's these Premier Nutritional Shakes. Premier Nutritional Shakes. So what these are a vegetarian-based protein. They have rich in B vitamins and ideal sources of quality protein. Let's see if I can give you a little more information. There's no tag-alongs. It's a vegetarian protein. It has all the branch chain, the essential, non-essential. It says here ingredients: dried yeast, so Saccharomyces. You have niacin, thiamine, riboflavin, P5P, and that's what you have here. So this is really good. And so, anyways, hopefully that answers your question. Suggestions to help with food. I think that answered your question. How do I get back? Okay, sorry. Teresa, is there a supplement that I can take for exhaustion? You know, the first thing I would say is I'd look at mitochondrial stuff. So I would look at helping that out. So minerals, number one. You need minerals, good quality food, everything we just talked about. Even like the Premier Greens, grasses, good quality living source minerals, like usually ocean minerals. You have to be careful how they're tested, but you want to get good quality stuff. Then I would be looking at, once you do that, maybe some good quality antioxidants, vitamin E. You would want even glutathione at some point, but I would maybe want some hydrogen. That's a really good one. There is as well, there's so many things, but I would look for ATP support too. So that's things like CoQ10, a really good quality CoQ10. Looking at NADH, a lot of supplements will be paired CoQ10 and NADH. I don't know if I use PRL for that one. I use a bunch of... Oh my goodness. So it's the newsstand fell over backwards. So I apologize about that. But that's what you gotta love about these Facebook Lives is anything could happen. So anyways, ATP support is what I'd be looking at. So NADH, CoQ10, D-ribose, L-carnitine, good quality minerals, turmeric, all the things that you should be trying to get in your diet and controlling your glucose. Thank you for your helpful information. You're welcome, Amy. Thank you for being here. Can you show the name of the 2 supplements again? Can you show the name? Okay, so I had the Premier Greens. So the Premier Greens is made by, is made by Premier Research Labs. And what I'll do is I will include a link to this line. I'll include a link so you can get that. But that's the Premier Greens, and then you have the Premier. I have the actually I really like the lecithin. I can get it for you. So 1 second. Let's see if I have it. I'm gonna get it, so don't go away. I'll be right back. Okay, so it's called Premier Lecithin Granules. So this is phosphatidylcomplexes complexes for nerve and brain. It's a fat emulsifier. Take 1 tablespoon 2 times daily. So I'd put 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoons in the shake. And there is 43 servings. So if I did 2, then I would only have 21 in days. I'd maybe do 1.5 or one day and then at the end of the week 2. Something like that. If I wanted it to last for a month. And the phosphatidylcholine, I get everyone on that because at the end of the day, cell membranes are oxidized, and you need to use you need to repair them. So those are the Premier Lecithin granules, and I'll put links so that you can click on those and you could look into those. Hopefully that was helpful. Hey Jennifer, hope you're doing well. I don't know if there's any other questions. I don't think there is. If there's only a couple people on the line. If you guys have any other questions, please let me know. I can answer them now. Otherwise, do I have any clever anecdotes that I can end with? How can I end this? How much exercise do I need if I'm doing over 12,000 steps at work? Hi, Tracy. The first thing I think about with that answer is, sounds like you're pretty active anyways, or that question. And for my answer is you're pretty active anyways. So don't be so restrictive in terms of how much do I have to do. Like what's, if you're active, you're doing 12,000 steps, sounds like that's a lot. Do you feel like you're doing enough? Do you feel like you should be doing more? Do you feel like, hey, I'm busy, I'm working, I'm pretty good? And also like, there's so many other variables about that. Like, there's a lot of different variables. So I would say just sort of go by instinct. Don't work too hard. Don't not work too hard. 12,000 seems a lot, but the big take home on that one is kind of know that yourself. Like, because you're not going to exercise your way to health. You will get healthier, but if there's some breakdowns going on, and you're not eating healthy, you're not supporting your adrenals, you're not understanding the feedback loops with the brain and the adrenals, and you're not understanding how they signal, how your hormones, everything we've talked about, then it's not only about, hey, did I do enough steps? I mean, that's important for sure, but sort of go by, today was good. I was active. I was good. I had a quick burst exercise. I trained, a little bit of my muscles. I got good contractions. I got some flexibility. I even learned how to relax and get into a parasympathetic state. I did all of that today. 12,000 steps, not even important at that point. So I don't mean to be rude at all by that, but don't be so regimented on if it is or not. I'm hopefully you like that answer. Can you heal on a plant? Yes, you can. You can definitely heal on a plant-based diet. Does high prolactin affect adrenal fatigue? Sort of the other way around. It's a catch-22. The higher our adrenals and stress, typically the increased impact the correlation has on the prolactin levels, and prolactin levels can impact back and forth. So again, it's talking about that feedback loop, things that are made by pituitary hormone. Pituitary hormone, impacts other things. What stimulates pituitary? Lots of things going on there. How are hormones being broken down? What is the environmental load on that? Genetically speaking, how do you do in terms of balancing those? Are you absorbing your minerals? Are you getting enough proteins? Are there things that aren't allowing you to absorb your proteins? If you're not absorbing your proteins, there's lots of inflammation. Are there foods that you're eating that stimulate an immune reaction? Lots of answers and questions in that one. So hopefully that was helpful for you. And then I think Arminda, you had a question. I hope you're doing well. Hi. What is the reason why I feel exhausted in the middle of the night after exercising? You're exercising in the middle of the night? Like how much before that are you exercising? Okay. So I'm going to read that again. What is the reason why I feel exhausted in the middle of the night after exercising? So on the days that you exercise, I'm imagining you're not exercising in the middle of the night. You are exhausted and waking up in the middle of the night on those particular days. Is there a quick one-word answer for that? Probably blood sugar. You probably didn't nutrient or sort of bring in, how would we say that? We didn't re-nutrient our depletions of water, sodium, electrolytes, just nutrients, ATP being burned, glucose being impacted, adrenals being problematic. So you got to get something in your body to replenish. That's the word, replenish. Replenish your nutrients, whether they're the macros and the micros and hydration. That's easy answer. Not I need to get on a sleeping aid. Not to say you are. I'm just saying, like, the traditional model is, okay, well, I'm not sleeping. I crash every time I exercise. Those would be the answers. So a couple more questions and I gotta go. I gotta make a call here. Tracy, you're welcome. Susie, can adrenal fatigue affect equilibrium? Yes, it's a two-way street. But we talked about, in the nutshell, answer would be you've lost your ability to maintain homeostasis. Part of your demand when you're maintaining a homeostasis is equilibrium, is orientating yourself to the horizon, and those feedback loops with your brain and your ears and your visual cortex and your cerebellum and your all those things that coordinate that. If there's inflammation, if there's trauma, if there's infections, if there's stress, yes, it can, and vice versa. Two-way road. Arminda, sorry. You're very welcome. So anyways, hope you guys are doing well. And I am going to sign off now. I wish I would have answered more questions. I hope that's very helpful for you guys. And I will see you next week. I'll post a couple comments or questions in terms of what you would like to see in way of topics being handled. And then I will put some of the links to this, and that way you will be able to look into these as well. So anyways, you're welcome as well, Tracy. I hope that was really helpful. And then Connie, I'm about to sign off. So adrenal fatigue with Epstein-Barr. So what is the question? What is the relationship, or what can you do, or adrenal fatigue with Epstein-Barr? So the adrenal fatigue with Epstein-Barr is absolutely a problem. And that's going to be one of my Facebook Lives. I'll start off with that in terms of there's a lot of misconceptions that we need to clear up. And it's vital because a lot of people get this wrong. And it has a lot to do with excluding and saying it's a past infection, because it's an IgG infection. It's something you had before, can never get rid of in terms of those IgGs. And IgM is negative. You don't have any infections now, so don't worry about it. Go on Prozac, or stop. That's BS. It really is. the premier researcher in neuroimmunoendocrinology, Dr. Aristotle Vajani, had a conversation with him. And I was privileged. I'm such a nerd that I was privileged to talk to him. I called and asked for a read interpretation support with a viral test that I did. And I said, yeah, I want to speak to the clinician to just review some of the information. That's the best thing for us, because then we can learn, and each new interpretation has a little extra. So you have to actively kind of sharpen your saw and get that information. So sure enough, the clinician was Dr. Vajani, and he is the nicest guy, and he's probably like the premier researcher in neuroimmunoendocrinology. And he said, a lot of doctors say with the IgG, it's past infections, and IgM's new infections, but it's different for everyone. And research is showing that it's not an automatic foregone conclusion just because it's IgG, it's a past infection. Or more than likely, you have a predisposition to removing or having an immune-based response with IgG production. Or probably immunoglobulins and protein support and methylation and inflammation and oxidation have caused so much problems that you can't even stimulate an IgM response. But yet your IgGs are elevated, and yet you're exhausted, and yes, your liver enzymes are skewed, and yet there's nothing wrong. So Epstein-Barr is very, 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 very prevalent. Lots of co-infections with Epstein-Barr. Looks a lot like other different herpes viruses, and there's co-infections with other So 2 falls in 1 day. So what I will have to do is have a backing. So we're almost perfect. Anyways, guys, I will sign off here, but there is a real problem with Epstein-Barr. I gotta say, 2 falls with the phone in 1 Facebook Live is awesome. I'm not stressed about it. I think it's actually kind of funny. I'll just make sure that I have a backing so it doesn't do that. But I hope that was helpful. You're welcome, Connie. I would love to talk to you about that next time. It's a really interesting topic. There's a lot of different ways to handle it, but it has a lot to do with methylation, has a lot to do with creating energy, and it has a lot to do with getting the hierarchy right. At which order do you fix things, and how much of the things are broken, and what's going on. Lots of valuable lessons in this Facebook Live. I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed this. Maybe get a laptop. You know what? You can't do those, April. Another patient asked me that. And Facebook Live is only with your phone, unless, I don't think you can do it with your computer. If you can, then I've been missing out. But I think it's only with your phone. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this with my phone. I wouldn't have it topple over 3 times. I actually broke the screen. That was fun. So anyways, hope all of you guys are well, and I will see you on the next Facebook Live. Take care. Have a great evening. Bye.